Hi everybody, welcome back to my LinkedIn Lives. I'm Jasmine Navarro, Certified Wellbeing Expert, working with educational institutions and companies, helping them support their family wellbeing challenges. As you know, every week I interview different experts, and today I'm super excited to be interviewing Ivana again. Hi Ivana, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for inviting me.
It's amazing to see you again. Can you tell everybody about yourself and what you do?
Yes, I'm a former immigrant, a clinical psychologist, psychotherapist, soon to be supervisor, which really make me happy. Croatian, so currently I repatriated, so that's part of the full expat cycle, as they say. And in that sense, kind of my expertise and lived experience align to that extent. Yeah, I'm happy to be here, and thank you all for being here.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you so much. So today you chose the title Calm in the Chaos, Emotional Regulation When It Matters Most. And I know this is the passion of mine as well. So tell us about this. What does it mean and why you chose it for today?
Well, it seemed timely as there's a lot of uncertainty, and it seems to me kind of a prolonged stress, which really is not good for emotional health or general health. So in that sense, it seemed something that could be needed in the current situation all across the world globally. And the idea is it definitely reduces the emotional bandwidth or you're under chronic or chronified stress. And when there's uncertainty, when there's a kind of a cognitive load of trying to kind of process and anticipate what's next without being able to say or tell how things will kind of go and well will they end. And in that sense, this emotional expansion rather than avoidance or kind of a over control seemed like a timely theme for today.
Amazing. Definitely. I think it's such an important topic, whatever's happening, isn't it? It's emotional regulation is just so important. It can really make or
And we
break.
all share it.
Exactly.
Biologically, we're not ideally wired to handle unpleasantness because the basic response is to avoid it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You're right. You're right. So where, like, in the most simple steps or information, like, where should we start with this topic then? What do you think is the most important thing to start off with?
Well, I would like to normalize the reduced bandwidth to handle unpleasant emotions, especially these days, because both the cognitive load and not being anticipate what should come next is also kind of putting on it in a position like you have a fogged window shield and you're still trying to drive, so you need to get from X to Z. You still need to move, but any moment kind of seems harder to make. Decisions are then also impaired. Quality of life suffers. So in that sense, the idea is usually to either overwork, doom scroll, or avoid disengage, which both are definitely suboptimal, especially in the long run ways of managing. And so the idea that you would recognize the urge and name the emotion in a way that is both adaptive, not avoidant, can help to kind of then in the next steps focus and name what is needed.
Oh, amazing. Okay, so let's break that down. No, that's really interesting. So the first step would be, so you notice that, I mean, probably a lot of the times you might not notice because it's just automatic behavior, right? I guess. But yeah. I guess you have that self-awareness. So you notice that you're feeling something uncomfortable, unmanageable, or...
Yeah. Typically, people firstly notice bodily sensations. That's a sign that, ooh, here's unpleasant.
Yeah.
So the idea is to be as granular as you can be when naming those emotions. Is it, resentfulness? Is it, sadness? Is it remorse? In terms of, for example, interpersonal situation.
Right. To try and understand
granular and concrete, it's easier then to kind of decipher and reverse engineer what you need to do next.
Okay. So you have that feeling, and then you stop and you pause and you try to work out what that feeling is, because that can be quite hard actually. But I think once you actually stop and you ask yourself that, okay, so you try to find out what the feeling is, and then
focus is definitely to be mindful, in the moment. So the idea is you can be mindfully angry, you can be mindfully anxious. So the idea is not just to stay with the emotion long enough to decide what to do with it in a kind of adaptive manner. First things first is obviously connecting with your body, whatever grounded it means for you. Is it with the breath or feet on the floor or whatever helps you to get in contact with your body? And then noticing what shows up. And obviously some of the urges would come up as well, with sensations, with specific thoughts. Frequently worry.
What kind of urges? Sorry, Ivana. What kind of urges might come up?
To avoid, to dampen, to overwork, to doom scroll, to kind of create a bit of a space between yourself and the unpleasantness.
Wow.
Frequently in an unhelpful way. For example, when you either overwork, doom scroll, avoid situation, or isolate yourself, the anxiety drops for a second there, and it kind of feeds the loop of continuing the same behavior. In the long run, unfortunately, it usually means that you're not getting social support that you so desperately need. That frequent this sense of control becomes like something is wrong, deeply wrong with me, in terms of like, if I'm not able to manage this and I'm still kind of isolating, not tapping that into this kind of social circle and support that I have, it can mean that I'm the one who kind of struggles. So in that sense, long-term effects of, let's say, disengagement or self-isolation work in those ways that neither feel your values, not kind of respecting your needs. So drive you away from what you really kind of are.
Well, interesting that you were saying that. I think, well, there's probably lots of common responses, but I think, avoiding, I know sometimes that's what I do. If I'm feeling something so overwhelming, I think my instinct is just get out, just go, leave, whatever, like escape that feeling. But it's interesting.
The mindful disposition, if it makes sense, it creates the space, the just good enough amount of space to get this kind of a meta position and to kind of see like what's happening in here and now, and I'm responding on it in a timely manner. If not, then you can kind of disengage and try something differently. But frequently we're in kind of outer loops, as you said.
Yes.
I would avoid, disengage, suffer even more. The next stop, again, this seems very something that I've already done. Okay, let's try this again. And because the anxiety drops frequently, it kind of keeps you in the loop. And in that sense, it kind of creates deeper patterns. So this becomes a kind of an automatic response. And plus you kind of expand the network. Avoidance can be both, disengaging physically, doom scrolling, let's say if you're socially anxious, being in the room but not creating any direct contact with anybody. So you're there, but you're not there. So it's kind of a soft avoidance. People are so good in avoiding that they really kind of get granular in all the different phases and behaviors, not realizing what they're basically doing, if it makes sense.
What about, definitely. What about disassociation? When you feel, because I've been quite stressed, well, everyone's been stressed, but I mean, what would you say about, when you feel disassociated with your body, when you're so stressed? Well, it might not be stress, but when you're feeling such uncomfortable emotions, you can't quite believe it's happening and it's overwhelming, that you sort of disassociate yourself with your body.
If it makes sense with urges and behaviors that you do on purpose, that's something that is manageable in a way that is more helpful. Sometimes dissociation can be kind of a sign of symptom, a bit of a graver kind of a stance where you're not able to kind of mindfully control it. Just kind of log off. In these situations, definitely, again, first step would be contact with the body. But to be very mindful not to kind of guilt trip anybody who would be dissociating, because per se, that is something that needs a different kind of way of catering to this. But it's more kind of a zoning out in terms of staring in the same page for 15 minutes, it's not the same as somebody who has PTSD symptoms. So I wouldn't put it in the same level. And obviously it will be more intensive. And different maybe way of management will be needed. But for everyday dissociations, kind of in that sense, zoning out, daydreaming, this could be quite a good first step to kind of disengage and then re-engage. You need to kind of step out a second, then to be able to kind of engage in a more helpful manner, if it makes sense. So that would be kind of a ground zero.
Interesting. We've got a question here on YouTube from Sarah. Hi, Sarah. How are you doing?
Hi, Sarah.
She says, how do I recognize early signs that I'm becoming emotionally dysregulated?
Okay. So emotional bandwidth reduces. Small things start to kind of irritate you more easily. In terms of kind of a cognitive load and being able to kind of do stuff in a smooth manner and switch tasks gets impaired. It's harder to do so. You need a lot of time to recuperate and bounce back after something stressful or after a difficult day. It can kind of affect, you notice how it's affecting different areas of your life. For example, then it happens in the family, at the workplace, in a relationship with yourself, that you're kind of more easily triggered, that maybe sleep patterns are impaired, that you struggle with concentration and things like that. So soon you would be able to kind of see it all across the board.
Interesting.
But emotional bandwidth and this kind of cognitive load, feeling fog and feeling tired, a type of tired that you're not able to kind of recuperate easily, that would be a good show-tell signs.
Interesting. She said, thanks.
I hope
Thanks,
it helps.
Sarah. Yes. Thank you so much, Sarah. No, it's interesting everything you're saying. Oh, we've got another question here from Tom. Is that Tom? Hi, Tom. Thank you for joining. He says, because you mentioned about being triggered. How can I stop myself from reacting impulsively when I feel triggered?
Hi, I think it's the $1 million question. If you discover it, please give the recipe for the rest of us. I would say, especially with high loaded emotions like anger, which is emotionally driven behavior. So it's less about avoidance. So it's like, I have emotion, bam, I'm just kind of driven by it. The idea is to notice before the kind of a spot, where you lose control, when you're kind of easily climbing and emotion is intensifying. When you're at the peak, it's very hard to self-regulate. But if you kind of check in regularly with yourself and you notice which is your bandwidth and the baseline of your distress, you can then kind of try to notice subtle signs.
That's very interesting. Can you simplify that about the bandwidth?
Okay. So what usually helps is kind of track your emotional climate, if you will, through the day. And then in typically triggering situations, and notice if they're kind of small irritations, what happens first, how you feel in your body, what thoughts popped into your mind, are there any kind of nervous energy in the body, what you tend to do, is your tone of voice is changing, is there tensing up, is there kind of muscle tension in your jaw? So this is what kind of typically people describe with anger, and then kind of making interventions earlier than possible, before the point of no return. Right. When you're in an acute situation, it's very hard, almost impossible. So in that sense, is kind of learning what your typical signs are, being aware of your triggers and either manage them or navigate them, because some of them, for example, external ones, we're not able to avoid, but at least we can kind of mitigate and prepare ourselves when we're entering those situations. So these are the things that could be useful. Plus, every emotional experience, consists of three, separate, let's say, concepts: sensations, thoughts, and these behaviors. And the idea is to kind of then break it down and see what would be adaptive, helpful, self-kind in the specific moment for you to do.
I like that.
The idea is you're not able to kind of implement it right away. it will be in the beginning like you're learning how to swim. So you would balance on the water, you learn the mechanics of the movement, and then you go. Yeah. So in that sense, the idea is to kind of break it down so it's more manageable, to see what is kind of a more difficult part of your experience to manage, what is easier for you, to try to manage the easiest part first and see how it changes the reaction and feedback, and then build on bigger kind of patterns of it. I hope
like
it helps.
That. Yeah,
I can
simple.
share some resources after.
Oh yes, please. That would be great.
Yeah, I know it sounds like a complex skill, because it is. We're not typically learned how to emotionally regulate.
Yeah. No, I like what you said. It's like about starting small and simple first. I think
Yes,
that's
I'm
really,
building on that.
yeah, because it can be quite overwhelming, can't it? Like, especially when you are triggered. You know, I think instinct is probably, like you said, to avoid, just do anything apart from feel that feeling, you know? So
Yeah.
that's very interesting.
Except, like walking away, the idea is to lean in, because from that intensity you learn and build better ways of responding.
That's really interesting. So basically, you're feeling triggered, and like a lot of people, we would just want to escape that feeling. So you're saying we should lean into that feeling, even though it's really uncomfortable, and just stay with it.
Yeah, but the idea is not lean into staying with, let's say, toxic boyfriend. So the idea is to accept the feeling more like an information. So it's not good and bad. It just tells you that something is happening. Relationship with yourself is in danger. Relationship with somebody else. Your needs are not being properly met. So there's a shift. There's a pivot. So the idea is then to see like, okay, what it tells me. What is the need behind it? What is my, let's say, best self, or what it would be aligned with my values, how I want to proceed next, how I want to choose my response versus the automatic response.
I love that. No, I love that. You've explained that so well. We've got another question here from Sarah again. Hi, Sarah. Thanks for coming back. She says,
Hi, Sarah.
What should I focus on first? My thoughts, my breathing, or my behavior when I feel stressed?
Stress is not an emotion per se, but definitely comes in a combo with very challenging emotions. In terms of irritability, is very frequent. But the idea with stress is I'm handling something that is difficult, and I anticipate that I don't have enough resources to deal with that. So the idea is to offload if you can. If it's a kind of acute stress, we're good with that. Our bodies know how to respond. If it's chronic stress, they wouldn't be resolved away with mindfulness practice. Then you kind of need also to reduce the external risk factors that keep you in a stress loop. So that would, not to individualize the responsibility on the person that feels stressed out. We all feel stressed, so that would mean that it's also organizational and systemic factors and community factors that kind of make us kind of stick in that loop. So we can try to do what we can on the individual level, but it is important also to kind of manage external risks if you can. The idea is usually to start off from something that seems more manageable.
Okay.
Not something that is so too overwhelming. To target something that is transversal. For example, specific skill that is useful both for irritability, concentration levels, and sleep, for example. So something that kind of is more than one goal that you would cover by focusing on that specific skill. That's really helpful, because then you have ripple effects that kind of then fortify your efforts. Tracking and monitoring, in terms of self-reflection, to see where is your baseline, and when the emotions really kind of run high.
How often happens? Do you track? Sorry. Sorry.
There's
how often?
All good. Sorry, I just kind of
no.
About the topic, just like and this and that. So I apologize.
No.
So there's some daily tracking devices as well. There's a really good book and a really good app that you can also save locally if you're worried about privacy. That are linked with, dealing with feeling is the book. Mark Brackett is the author, and How We Feel is the app. So it's kind of like a mood tracker. So it helps you to kind of map out emotions in 2 different dimensions in terms of level of pleasantness and level of energy. So you get more granular and you get better in naming and noticing what is happening.
Amazing. So I guess it's to increase self-awareness.
Yes. Yeah. So that would be the first step. And then you can kind of recognize when you're in a really energetic, when you're in a flow, what you do, who you hang out with, what fills your resources, and then do more of that, because it will be easy then to bounce back, even if you experience something that is difficult, if it makes sense. For example, if your stress levels are surging.
That's very interesting, actually. I love what you're saying. It's almost you're preparing yourself, those important daily habits of preparing yourself for when something does happen.
Like break the glass in the case of emergency. If it makes sense, the more healthy coping habits you have, you're not putting all the eggs in one basket. So if something doesn't work or is not accessible, so you have other options how to kind of cater to yourself to keep, your self balance in check.
Brilliant. And Tom has got another question. Thanks, Tom. What are some small daily habits that help build emotional resilience over time? I mean, you have mentioned some.
What can be helpful? These building blocks, you can kind of collect them during the week and day. So, for example, to do something for your mind, for your soul, for your body, in a day. But in a way, they can be different things, and it doesn't have to be big stuff, but to kind of build up this toolbox that is kind of catering to different aspects of your person, to make sure that you're kind of well balanced in all aspects of your functioning. That really kind of does the trick, especially if you're kind of short in time, where it's kind of hard to discern what level of control you have in prolonged uncertainty. If it makes sense, you would focus on small goals and small steps. You wouldn't maybe think, months and years ahead.
Yeah, no, I like that because...
Yeah, toolbox.
Yeah, no, I think it's good because you keep saying, coming back to small and simple. And I think that's really, really important, isn't it? Because otherwise it's hard to do anything if you're feeling overwhelmed and then you feel like you have to do so much. You just keeps you stuck, doesn't it? So I love this small and simple and doing what you can manage. I think that's absolutely brilliant. So we're nearly out of time, but I mean, it's such an important conversation, but is there anything else you'd like to say that we haven't spoken about or you haven't mentioned before we go?
Knowing that currently we're in the time of prolonged crisis, to be kind of mindful and gentle, that it kind of increases both the cognitive load, reduces and shrinks your kind of optimal response levels. So in that sense, it's also important to build community practices that upkeep you. So although there's this avoidance and not so appealing or helpful in the long run responses, there's also tendent to befriend response to stress, which would mean kind of a collective knowledge, collective sense of belonging, mattering, trust that you can build in the community can kind of feed you emotionally as well. And definitely social support is one of the biggest factors in any stressful situation. So in that sense, I would also encourage you not just to build individual resources, but also build community resources.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Connection is so important, isn't it? No, thank you so much, Ivana. And how can people find you?
Yes, I'm present here on LinkedIn. I love to write. It's usually topics linked with immigration, expat life, intercultural communication. So if you're interested in any of those, it'd be nice to have you in my feed. I have a private practice that I share with my partner. We're placed in Croatia, but we function and work globally.
Amazing. And you mentioned you have some resources as well. I don't know if you could share any links or anything, your links.
Yes, sure.
On the post.
If it's allowed and if it's not off brand, I would happy to do that.
No, please do. I mean, I know you're an amazing writer, and I've seen your work, and I think, yeah, if you're happy to share any.
And a nerd and a hoarder. So I'll try to put everything.
No, brilliant. And please, if anyone has any questions about the topic today, please message Ivana directly or put a question on the post as well. Ivana will post some links on the feed as well, so please feel free just to click. And thank you so much, Ivana. It's been an absolute pleasure. We have to do it again. There's so much more to talk about.
Same here.
But
always happy
brilliant.
to see you.
Yes, lovely to see you again. And thank you, everybody, and I'll see you next week.